Hey, Facebook universe. So Danny and I are still here, and if you're keeping track of what time it is, it's after 6 p.m. Mountain Time. We are working a lot. It's a busy week for us, busy weekend, busy next week, busy the following week.
Busy until August
sometime when we both go on vacation. We've got the Winchester Arms Collectors Gun Show this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We got Jessie, who's really not happy that she had to stay so she could film this. She'll have a table there so you can go hang out with her. Maybe we should go out Facebook Live and like bother her.
We probably should.
From the show. Okay,
Yeah,
we're going to do that. Decided. We're going to do that from the show this week. New episode. We're going to do that this weekend. If you're in town, next Monday and Tuesday, we're having our Arsenals of History Symposium. The first day is open to the public. Second day is open to the museum professionals and anyone who's pre-registered. It's going to be really, really interesting, and we're hoping to come live on Monday as long as everything works out in the auditorium a couple of times so you can see what we're up to, because we're going to have 10 different institutions represented from as far as, that didn't make sense, all the way to Royal Armories in England. We're really excited to have everybody out here for that. That's going to be really cool. At least we think it's going to be cool.
We don't know yet. We've never done this before.
Yeah, we've never done this before, so bear with us. We're also working really hard on the new museum. We're probably about 1,000 guns into the design of the new museum. Got
That's a lot of guns.
Another 3,000 or 4,000 left to go. We'll be finishing that up by the end of the month. And if you're here, second weekend of August, you should sign up for our Buffalo Bill Invitational Shootout. It's our fundraiser shotgun event. It's a lot of fun. But the ad portion of this
I really had to resist the urge to do finger guns, and I just did them anyway.
Anyways, don't point it at the camera. Days in a corner. So there's a lot of things going on right now. So we're staying late to work on it, but then we were like, hey,
we should go around the museum when the lights are off.
because it's kind of awesome and a little bit scary and
pretty creepy.
Yeah, but I promise nothing comes to life. At least I hope not.
We don't know. We're not
We don't know. So Jesse, why don't you turn around? We can see how dark it is. Because I've got this handy dandy thing that normally you hook up to your phone. It's a Surefire fire pack, and we've been using it for a lot of our videos. So it's real dark, if you can tell. And
whoa, it's so bright.
So bright. You can actually hook the fire pack up to your phone, and there's an app that you can download that you can actually adjust the balances for it. But because we're in Facebook Live, I don't think we're able to do that. Although I'm sure Surefire can tell us if we're wrong. Hashtag we don't know technology so good.
Can I give us that sponsor?
All right. So I think I'm going to hand the light to Jesse, and let's walk around and see what we got. But I do want to point out in this first case, and we're going to try not to blind anyone or Danny and I. It really is a quite powerful light, which is probably the best way I could ever walk around here in the dark, because I've done it by myself without a flashlight, and I regret all of those decisions. But you'll see we've got some Plains Indian War guns, but the Springfield model 1873. So that's the second one in here. It's a trapdoor Springfield. And this gun, although the label doesn't say it, it's a part of the Buffalo Bill Museum original collection, which is a part of the co-foundation gift. And one of the things that kind of encapsulates that gift is the Frederick Remington Studio Collection. And this is one of those pieces. And so that belonged to, I feel like you've got the like,
I don't know what I'm doing.
there you go.
This is what happens when you go through a museum with
This is what, what happens sometimes when you go through a museum with glass. But
Things shine.
woo! But the Frederick Remington Studio Collection was a part of that co-foundation collection, and so as a result, we have Frederick Remington's personal firearms. We've got one of his hunting guns over. I guess we could go find that too. We have one of his hunting guns on display here in the museum, and then we have several of the firearms that he used as props in his work. So it's a surprisingly large collection. And of course, I'm saying Frederick Remington, and that is not.
What am I supposed to say here?
A life bullet Remington.
Oh.
A lot of times people confuse us. We actually have a Frederick Remington scholar on staff. He's the former director, Peter Asterick, and he did give a lecture on Remington the artist, and a bunch of dudes showed up really wanting to hear about Remington firearms. So that was disappointing. But let's walk deeper into the museum, and Danny can talk for a little bit.
What am I going to talk about?
I don't know, Danny. Danny's really tired. But we're walking through our military history wing right now, and I feel like illuminated. It's pretty neat.
I don't know where to go.
You don't know where to go. Danny's panicking. All right, we're going to walk over this way. I think we pointed this gun out before. This is a Colt Model 1861 Navy, serial number 1, and that's neat. That's what happens when you've been working for like 12 hours. But this is the serial number 1. It's on loan to us, and that is one of the original holsters for it. But what's interesting about this gun is that it belonged to a private named Charles D. Slate, Caleb Slate, and what I think is fascinating about that is because a lot of times when you see military guns, you don't know who they belong to. Danny's looking at me like I'm crazy right now. Very deer in the headlights look. But you don't normally know who they belong to unless they were presented to someone like General Patton, or you have the provenance passed down through the family. And this is a gun they've actually been able to trace to that person who enlisted in the military during the American Civil War in a New York Yonkers regiment, and he had this gun with him his entire time he was serving during the Civil War. So
Have we ever had our Lindsay
I don't know.
on
Go for
Facebook
it.
Live?
I don't think we
So
have.
this vertical gun right
Danny
here.
found his voice.
I found
He
something.
woke up. Yay!
So you'll notice this weird, funky arrangement. There's 2 hammers on this rifle musket. It is what's referred to as a Lindsay rifle. It was made during the Civil War, and the Union government bought, I think, about 1,000 of these and actually issued them. It's a superposed load gun, so they would load one charge on top of the other, and then when you fired, you hoped that both didn't go off at once, which, according to the troops that got issued them, usually it did anyways, and they hated it. So, the Lindsay.
Ta-da! I wanted to share something because someone on my personal Facebook today posted a picture of some Burnside cartridges, and so we got some. Danny knows about
That's a
them.
weird thing to get posted on
You're
your
right.
personal Facebook.
So here are our Burnside cartridges. So it's like share time.
Share time.
Share time.
So you'll see these 2 weird shaped cartridges, and I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera, but there's a little pinhole all the way at the back that when the cartridge was made, that was sealed with wax, and it would go into this Burnside carbine up above.
Jesse.
So it would go into one of these Burnside carbines, breech loading carbine with, I don't know, you probably can't see it on the camera, but there's a percussion cap there, percussion nipple there for percussion cap, and that would, when that detonated, that would burn off that wax seal and detonate the cartridge, and actually is laughing a lot, and it's really distracting. But designed by Ambrose Burnside, who was a better gun designer than he was a general.
You just made it worse.
Wait.
I'm like tearing up. Arms is me. Let's keep walking because we're gonna pass by the. Everything looks a lot cooler with this light. We should do tours at night more often. Our Winchester store, our store of Winchester things that don't go bang. I'm gonna pan around in there. I know we've been in there before, but I don't know. Everything seems cooler in the dark right now. And it's also got the really make it creak, Danny, in the dark. Ready? Ghosts. But you want to pan around in here, you can see some more of the things. We've done several Facebook Lives, I think, in here now, but I feel like we should just change
Can't tell
the
where the
lighting.
camera's at right now.
Danny just got, Danny, you're not supposed to look in the light. Hashtag pro tip. We're hashtagging a lot. I think that's a characteristic of being very tired. All right, let's keep walking through because you can't walk around a dark museum without encountering some kind of wildlife. And we've got a pretty cool bear over here. Our 19th century arms factory. Some really, actually, these are some fascinating guns. If you
Can we
want
talk about them now that we're here?
Sure, let's talk about them.
So these are some of our early rifles. The one up top and the one down here are both Harper's Ferry Model 1803 rifles, a Type 1 and a Type 2 if you're really into that level of collecting Harper's Ferry rifles. But for a long time, people thought that Lewis and Clark maybe carried an 1803 rifle on their journey out west, but the production of these guns didn't start till the fall of 1803. They were there in the spring. So bad.
So.
Also, we have another superposed gun right here.
Oh yeah, I love superposed guns.
So this is a repeating flintlock. It's 8 stacked charges. I don't know what else to say about that.
It's weird. It's a repeater. So early. All right, let's
Go
keep
find
walking. Where was the bear? So dark. When we had the Boone and Crockett collection, we had all the heads and horns here for about 25 years on loan, and they were here in our cabin, our Boone and Crockett cabin that we now use. Dan's getting creeped out. We now have that space used for a Boone and Crockett video, and then we do educational programming where people can get hands-on with firearms, learn about firearm safety, learn about the story of the West, and a whole slew of different programs this year. Our interns are pretty great coming up with don't laugh. Our interns have been really great coming up with different programs.
If you watched that, I didn't mean it.
Kirsten just started watching.
Did you really? Hey, Kirsten. I was, complimenting you, and Danny was laughing. But no, they've really come up with some great programs this year. But this is our bear, and right now it's on loan to us. But I do believe it'll be coming as a donation pretty soon. It's a poached bear, and it was confiscated by the Wyoming Game and Fish, and so therefore it cannot leave the state. Although it was not shot here. It was shot in Alaska.
The more you know.
You don't say. They're typing up the whole story of it because it's really fascinating about what happened, how I got down here, and now why I can't leave the state, and apparently our museum forever. Inside, let's come in here. I want to look at some Theodore Roosevelt.
Almost ran it up.
Theodore Roosevelt in the dark. Oh, animals are.
Skunkers.
And an elk. And a bison. There's bad barked bison down there, but I don't know if you can see them in the light. I don't know why that bench is right there.
That is a great question.
I didn't put that bench there. But pan around. The Theodore Roosevelt saddle, if you've been into the museum, it was right here behind me, and it's not there anymore. I definitely just looked into the light. And it's not behind me right now because it's back on display at the Buffalo Bill Museum. They have a whole new saddle exhibition on your way out of the Buffalo Bill Museum, which is pretty neat. So I'm excited that it was taken out of the vault, put out here temporarily, and now found its permanent home with its permanent collection.
Should we show off the Winchester trophies since it's wax?
Sure. Pan over
here.
Right? If you are here, if you went to Firearms Collectors Gun Show and you have awesome guns and you win several trophies, we actually display those trophies now at the Buffalo Bill Center of the West because they award them right here on Saturday night, right, Jesse?
Yes, they do.
Look at our cool table.
And this is like the coolest table ever. Do you know anything about it? Danny found this table.
I don't know anything about it, but we needed a replacement table for up here, and we went down, and then we had this awesome antler table, so we decided to use it.
Yeah, sometimes.
That's all I know.
Sometimes that's about as deep as we get. Over here, we've got President Theodore Roosevelt's guns. We've got two of his guns, Winchester Model 1895, and that is one of the ones that was reported to go on African safari. It is on loan to us right now from Boone and Crockett and Sagamore Hill, if I'm correct.
Jesse, what did those guys find today?
They found the record for that gun. We always thought that it was gone. They found it in an envelope in the middle of a box of office files.
This is the first time hearing this.
I know,
That's
isn't it
so
cool?
Jesse, why don't you give a little context for who they are?
We have a couple of fellows from the Winchester Arms Collectors Association here this week who are researching a book on the Model 1895. Their names are Rob Cassab and Brad Dunbar.
That's so cool. I should open my door sometimes.
No,
that was fantastic. That's really, really neat. Hopefully we can we take a picture of it? We can post it on social media.
Yeah.
That'd be wonderful.
I think we should put it with the gun.
Well, yes. But we can
It takes
social
a little
media.
longer.
Yeah, that takes a little bit longer than social media. But we will get it on display with the gun. And then down here is a Fox shotgun that was customized for him. And it's also reported to have been taken on the African safari, but we're not 100% sure if that's accurate. And then if you pan up here, you see a little piece of fabric there. And I've always been told that's a piece of his pajama pants.
I'm trying to get the gun in here. All right.
There we go. It's a little bit hard because it's so far forward. It's just scratching in the dark. All right.
Scratching in the dark.
Stretching in the dark. Yay. All right, let's go look at something else. What would be cool in the dark? It doesn't get, it lightens up over there.
That
sometimes.
statue is kind of weird
So
in the
should we
dark.
go around the sporting arms side because it's real dark?
Yeah, let's go over to the sporting arms side. It looks like there's no light coming from over here. We've got our climber paintings, which we talked about in the previous Facebook Live video. We also we got a Plinky Topper one kind of around the corner.
We also have a world record gun.
Yes, we do. We gotta figure out which one's there in the dark. So Plinky Topper one was easy. This is a Winchester Model 1897 slide action shotgun, and this belonged to Elizabeth Topperwine. And I saw Logan joined. If you're still watching and you didn't give up on us, the NRA Museum has a lot of ad Topperwine's guns. They were a shooting duo known as the Fabulous Topperwines. I'm not sure if you guys have any Plinky guns, but I really want to unite them at some point, and we can travel back and forth between the organizations. But we've got several guns from Plinky Topperwine here. We have a gun up at the front that's a Winchester Model 1890 slide action rifle, 22 caliber, and it's a really fascinating story. We're pretty impressive exhibition shooters, and we do have videos of them shooting. And one of my favorites when I watched it, it's been years since I've watched it, but one of my favorite videos is when Ad's standing on his head and she's holding up his feet and they're like throwing targets up and he's shooting upside down. They were pretty impressive.
The way I've always heard the story about how they met is Ad came back from one of his exhibition trips and went to the factory and saw her and wanted to talk to her, but the shop foreman wouldn't let him for a really long time. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's all the story I've heard.
That's fantastic. And it's just another example. They were, great marriage. Yeah, marital trust degree. Doing some of the stuff that they did, but they kind of fall on the legs of Frank and Annie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shooting duos.
Shooting duos. Let's keep walking down here and see what we've got. Because we don't even know. We're walking down the side of it. We don't know what to look at.
We could go in the stage shop. It'd be the most
we have
light
a
we've ever
stagecoach
had in
shop
there.
here. And this is a recreation. There was a stagecoach shop about halfway between here and Meeteetse, Wyoming. It is not there anymore, but this is a complete recreation of the stagecoach stop. Everything looks cooler in the dark. We're always doing this.
This is the most light this has ever had.
I know. And if you're driving between Cody and Meeteetse, you'll see there's a historic marker there. But this is exactly what was there once upon a time. And then over here with the stagecoach stop are our stagecoach guns, and we do have an American Express one on display here. I think it's an 87. Yeah. Lever action. I do believe that's the American Express one, correct?
Yeah, this one is.
And we've got a series of our coach guns. And then another spot that we don't really talk about too much because it's always so dark. Even during the day, there's not a lot of lighting. Let's go to our colonial gun shop.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. We were a lot closer than I thought we were. I thought we were like several steps away. It's our colonial gun shop. We're not just the American West. And shine a light so we actually know what's in here for the first time in forever.
I've never been in here.
There are many things.
I thought you were about to say something. I thought you were about to say something like poignant.
No. That like never happens.
There is, Howard. I don't know. That's really interesting. This space has never really been lit. I think the original intent of this space was to be used to actually have someone in here, working in here, but we've got several parts and tools used to make a gun in the colonial period in America. It's actually quite neat. Perhaps we should turn the lights on for it. We should probably use this.
Put our interns in here.
In the dark. With a Surefire power pack. There you go. But yeah, it's on our historic timeline. Right now, we kind of walked backwards on our evolution of firearms timeline, and we're hitting about the revolution. Like we're actually almost exactly across the way, so it's a fitting thing. And as you keep going on, that's where the stagecoach comes in a little bit later in our history. So
Yeah, we're going backwards through history.
We're going backwards through history right now. Let's come on up, and we should look at the clocks in the dark now too. Very good.
Clocks.
Actually, I don't know if it's dark enough for the clocks.
Are we close to our Hawking?
We are close to our Hawking.
One of our Hawking.
Jeremiah Johnson. Whatever his Johnson. We have several mountain men.
Recently back on display.
Recently back on display. It's a Hawking rifle.
For all the people that showed up before, while this was off display, I'm very sorry.
We're sorry.
Just come back.
Do you want to tell the story, Jay? Do you know the story? So the Hawking rifle, John Johnston was his name. He actually went by several names, but you see it as John Johnson. Thanks to the Robert Redford film, it was Jeremiah Johnson. And the story behind him is that in the 1840s, he married a Flathead Indian, and he went out, went out trapping in the winter. He came back, and she was murdered by the Crow Indians. And he declared war on the Crow Nation. There was a history book. Oh, I almost air-quoted that. There was a historical account that was written in the mid-20th century, and they called him the Crow Killer. But a lot of contemporary research, and I'm not a scholar on John Johnston, but a lot of the contemporary research that's done kind of primary source documentation has found out that the oral histories about liver-eating Johnson are not necessarily true, because one of the documentation places him in the Mexican-American War at the time that the story of him becoming the Crow Killer actually took place. There's a lot that's kind of unknown about him, and the Crow Killer book is mostly based on oral history, and I think oral tradition a lot of times it turns out to be like an urban legends in a telephone game, so it's not surprising that that is not necessarily the truth. What we do know about John Johnston, though, is that he did move out here at some point. He was the constable of Red Lodge, Montana, down the road, and he died at a veterans hospital in Los Angeles in 1900. Danny's like, where did you pull that from?
Learning so many things.
The other gun that we have here is Jedediah Strong Smith's. Jedediah Strong Smith. I don't remember much about him. I know that he was a mountain man as well, but a little bit different. He was less crass, I guess. Didn't drink, didn't swear, from a really religious family, and he can be thanked for pretty much. I was gonna say charting the West, and then I looked down and saw the panel that I wrote like 3 years ago that said charting the West. And he was really known for traveling out into the American West. Went to California twice, got arrested as a spy.
Sorry, I keep getting really distracted and looking at all this stuff around us.
It's the first time Danny's ever seen the museum. And so Jesse's showing you now what the actual information is on it. But he was known for traveling all over the American West. A lot of the maps that we used and sort of building off of today were based off of Jedediah Strong Smith's mapping. He did go to California twice though, when it was not a part of America, cartography. When it was not a part of the United States, and got arrested as a spy. I was told not to come back, and then he came back. He was kind of cool. And he went back and started mapping the West that he had been traveling on all these different expeditions. And he realized that he didn't really have a lot of the Southwest. And so he got on a trip to go to the Santa Fe Trail. And one day he left the group. He didn't come back. The group moved on without him. And when they had gotten to the end of the Santa Fe Trail, they had heard that he had been killed by Indians. There were people selling his wares at the end of the Santa Fe Trail, and that's how they got the story behind that. But young guy, he was also attacked by a bear, surprisingly, not Leo DiCaprio, but he was attacked by a bear on one of his expeditions, had his face ripped off, and they were able to sew it back together. It's pretty metal. So real gruesome life for a mountain man. But this is our mountain man case. We did have it temporarily off display for a time when we were fixing some of the different exhibition components of it, and people were real sad because a lot of people
we're so much more educational in the dark.
Apparently. Jeremiah, it might be a correlation to how much we've been writing today and how long we've been here. And then I'll point out another gun that's right behind you. It's on loan to us, and it is reportedly Audie Murphy's gun, given to him by Gary Cooper. Audie Murphy's an interesting guy. I'm going to pan up to the panel. Audie Murphy was the most decorated U.S. combat soldier of World War II. Yes, I read that on the panel, but I did remember it too. He was also a B-Western actor, pretty successful. He wasn't successful when he first came into the kind of film world, but he ended up starring in many, many films. And he also starred in an adaptation of his autobiography, To Hell and Back. And Audie Murphy also suffered from PTSD before it was diagnosed as that, and was one of the first people that encouraged the U.S. government to study soldiers coming back from war and the effects that were having on him, because he knew what happened to him, and so he wanted to start to prevent that. And as a result, there is a veterans hospital named after him. And I have been told, although I haven't checked it recently, that he is the second most visited grave in the Arlington Cemetery.
We need the more you know tag.
We do need the more you know tag. But we'll pan down and we'll look at the rest of the timeline because we're coming back into the light. We thank you for kind of hanging around. We were walking around the museum and we were like, what should we do? And we're like, we should come when it's after dark, because that's a really neat way to experience a museum.
Museum after hours.
Jesse said no. I think that's because Jesse wanted to go home like an hour ago.
We made her stay.
We made her stay. But thanks for tuning in. If you got any questions, we'd be happy to answer them, maybe. We might go get some sleep. And we'll do this back again tomorrow because, again, we've got a busy week. If you're in town, go to the Winchester Arms Collectors Show Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And if you're in town Monday, come to our symposium, Arsenals of History.
That's all.
See you guys.